Okay, so you might have been out and about looking for property and heard a estate agent asking you, do you have an agreement in principle or do you have an AIP? You might have read about it on some property hunting websites. What does it mean and how helpful is it? I'll explain it after this short intro. I'm Tim Hill, internet entrepreneur, property investor, and author of How to Really Buy a Property. No, it's not one of those books that goes on and on about how you can make millions investing in property, and all you have to do is go on my course to learn the secrets, and then you go on my course and you find out that you have to go on my master course to learn the real secrets. None of that. If you have decided to buy a property, no matter what your motivation, then How to Really Buy a Property is the smart way to do it. And it will save you time, money, and stress. Okay, an agreement in principle is an agreement you can make with a mortgage provider. And it's really simple. Most mortgage providers, you can go to their websites, you can fill out a form online which will say how much you earn, how much debt you've got, perhaps what other outgoings you spend your money on, and they will pop back with a figure that says, this is how much we will lend to you. If it's true, what you say, that you do earn that much and your debts are this much, and this is how you really spend your money, then in principle, we agree. But they haven't checked it out. Now, there is no limit to how many agreements in principle you can get. You can go and fill out 20 different forms on the internet. You can go to a mortgage broker and he will get you agreements in principle from 20 different mortgage lenders. And it really doesn't matter. It's a good way of seeing, because what people are saying to you is, if what you're saying is true, I will lend you up to this amount at this percentage interest. Now, there'll always be terms around that. That percentage interest might change. What is it tied to? Usually the Bank of England's interest rate, or it might have a at this rate guaranteed for the first 2 years, and then it will change to that rate. So there is quite a bit which goes into an agreement in principle, but the main focus really is on that figure that they're going to lend you. That interest rate will vary depending on how much of the property's value you intend to borrow. So let's say I'm going to buy a flat for £100,000, and I say to the bank, I haven't found the property yet, but I think it'll be around 100,000, and what I want to borrow is 50,000. This is called this loan to value. 50% of the property value I want a loan for. Now, for a bank, that's quite a cool deal, because they know that if I stop paying my mortgage, they can pop round, they can take the property off me after some legalities, and they know they're going to get their 50,000 back. So if it's a safe loan, they'll probably offer me a low interest rate because they want to make some money, but I'm a good person to lend to. There's less low risk. If I want to borrow 95% of the property value, or even 100% of the property value in some cases, that's very risky for them. So the interest rate will be higher. They may not even want to, they may say, okay, we're not actually going to lend you that 100,000 though. You can buy something up to 90,000 if that's how risky you're going to be. So all these things have a kind of knock-on effect. But for most buyers, we're really usually looking at a high loan to value. So there you go. You've been round. You've got all your agreements in principle. What will happen after you agree an offer on a property is you'll say to one of those banks, okay, I want to go with this agreement. And they'll say, right, but prove all that stuff you told us, because at the moment we just have an agreement in principle. So they'll be doing checks on multiple fronts. First of all, they'll be asking you for the documents that everything you've told them is true about you, about how much you earn, about how much you owe, about how you live your life. They'll do a background check. They'll go to a credit agency to get your credit score, which is kind of a record of how good you've been with loans in the past. That's kept by a third party, like an agency like Experian. So they will be rummaging around in your past there. Of course, they'll be checking the property. Is the property worth what you want to pay for it? They'll get a third party called a surveyor to go around and check that, and they'll be wanting your solicitor to gather together all the legal paperwork for them to have a look at. Just go, is this really a good idea? Is there anything in the paperwork which suggests that this property is not a good purchase for us to lend money on? Okay, so they'll be doing a number of things, but what they'll be doing as far as the agreement in principle goes, is changing it from an agreement in principle into an agreement, a more concrete agreement. Now, there is something called a PAM, a pre-arranged mortgage, where you can do those paperwork checks before you even find a property. I've made a separate piece about that. You can find it in the notes below. But that explains how you can kind of jump ahead before you've even found a property and get a lot of background checks done on you, how you can check out your own credit score before the bank even takes a sniff at it, and therefore be kind of like the best buyer in the queue, which is really important if it's a competitive marketplace, if there aren't that many properties around, if you're up against a lot of buyers, then having something called a pre-arranged mortgage can really make you like shine over and above certain other buyers. But in terms of an agreement in principle, that's basically it. It's just a general, you tell the bank some things about yourself. They say, if that's true, this is how much we'll lend to you and on what terms, what interest rate. And that's it for agreement in principle. That's all for this short video. There's much more information in the book, How to Really Buy a Property. As always, if you found this information useful, please remember to subscribe, to share, to like, to do all those social media things. It all helps other people who need this information find it more easily. If you've got some specific questions which you'd like me to have a go at answering, please put them in the comments below and I'll try and get to them. And in the meantime, good luck with your property purchase.